She was afraid of him. Lisa turned the corner, quickening her steps. Her heart pounded with a familiar dread. She didn't need to look over her shoulder to know she was being followed. She felt it, his eyes burning into her back like a fire that wouldn't die. Lisa, a low, familiar voice echoed through the rain. She froze. Her breath hitched. There he was. Ken, standing a few feet away, soaked from head to toe, his black coat clinging to his broad frame. His eyes, wild, desperate, obsessed. Ken, what are you doing here? Her voice trembled, a mix of fear and something she couldn't name. Ken took a slow step forward, rain dripping from his hair. His lips curved into a smile that didn't reach his eyes. You know why I'm here. His voice was soft, but it cut through the night like a knife. I told you before. I'll never let you go. Lisa's heart pounded. She had left him. She had tried to run. But no matter where she went, he always found her. Ken, you need help, she whispered. This isn't love. Ken's jaw tightened. No, Lisa. This is more than love. This is forever. Lisa wasn't sure whether to run or to stay. Her mind screamed for her to walk away. But something about the way Ken looked at her kept her rooted to the spot. His gaze, piercing and unwavering, felt like it could burn right through her soul. Ken, this has to stop, Lisa said, her voice steadier now. You can't keep following me like this. It's over. Ken laughed softly, but there was no humor in it. The rain continued to pour, masking the tears glistening in his brown eyes. You think it's over? He asked, stepping closer. His voice dropped to a whisper. It's never over for us, Lisa. You made me this way. You made me love you this much. Lisa shook her head. That's not love. That's control. And I won't be controlled. Ken's eyes darkened. Control. He took another step forward, now just inches away. Do you really think I'm trying to control you? No, Lisa. I'm protecting you. You don't understand how dangerous the world is without me by your side. She backed away, her heels clicking against the wet pavement. You're the danger, Ken. Those words hit him hard. For a moment he stood still, rain dripping from his face, his expression unreadable. Then without warning he smiled again, a chilling, obsessive smile. Fine, he said quietly. If you won't stay with me willingly, then I'll make sure you have no choice. Lisa's heart stopped. What are you saying? Ken reached into his coat pocket and pulled out his phone. He held it up, showing her a picture. Her blood ran cold. It was a photo of her apartment, taken just hours ago. I'm not going anywhere, Lisa, Ken whispered. You'll see. We belong together. And I'll do whatever it takes to make you see that. Lisa's hands trembled as she stared at the picture on Ken's phone. Her apartment. Her sanctuary. The one place she thought she was safe. Ken, what did you do? She whispered, her voice cracking. Ken tilted his head slightly, his eyes never leaving hers. I haven't done anything yet. But I needed you to know something, Lisa. He took a slow step closer, lowering his voice to a near whisper. I'm always with you. Even when you think you're alone, I'm there. Lisa's pulse raced. Her mind spun with memories. How often had she come home and felt like someone had been there? How many times had her phone buzzed with unknown calls? She had brushed it off as paranoia, but now it all made sense. You're sick, she spat. This isn't love, it's obsession. Ken's face hardened for a moment, but the smile returned, softer now, almost sad. You keep calling it that. Obsession. Control. But I call it devotion. His voice softened even more. You're the only woman who's ever made me feel alive. How can I just walk away from that? Lisa swallowed hard, her chest rising and falling with rapid breaths. The rain continued to pour, drenching them both, but neither moved. You're not the man I thought you were, she said quietly. I loved you once, Ken. But that man is gone. You've turned into someone I don't recognize. Ken's expression shifted, pain flickering in his eyes. For a brief moment, he looked vulnerable. Human. But it was gone in an instant. You're wrong, he said. I'm still the same man. The man who brought you flowers every morning. The man who held you when you cried. The man who loved you more than anyone else ever could. Lisa shook her head. That man wouldn't be stalking me. That man wouldn't be threatening me. Ken clenched his jaw, his fists tightening at his sides. You don't get it, do you? His voice dropped to a low growl. I'm doing this because I love you. I'm doing this to protect you from the world. And from yourself. Lisa took a step back, her heart thudding painfully in her chest. Protect me? From what? Ken smiled again, a slow, dangerous smile. From making the biggest mistake of your life. Lisa felt her back press against the cold brick wall behind her. There was nowhere to run. "Leave me alone," she said, her voice shaking. "I don't want to see you again." Ken stepped closer, until their faces were inches apart. His voice dropped to a whisper. "You can try to run, Lisa, but you'll never escape me. You'll never escape us." And with that, he turned and disappeared into the rain, leaving Lisa standing alone, trembling, her mind spinning with fear and confusion. But deep down, she knew one thing. Ken wasn't done with her. Lisa barely made it through her front door before collapsing onto the floor. Her hands trembled uncontrollably as she locked the door behind her, leaning her head against the wood, gasping for air. Her mind raced with Ken's chilling words. "I'm always with you." She squeezed her eyes shut, willing herself to stay calm. But the weight of his obsession pressed down on her like a suffocating blanket. How long had he been watching her? How deep did his control over her life go? Her phone buzzed. Lisa's eyes shot open, dread crawling up her spine. Slowly, she reached for her purse and pulled out her phone. Unknown number. Her thumb hovered over the screen. Every instinct told her not to answer, but curiosity got the best of her. "Hello," she whispered. Silence. Then his voice. "Lisa." Her heart stopped. She pressed the phone tighter to her ear, her voice trembling. "Ken, how did you think a locked door would keep me out?" His tone was calm, almost soothing. "I told you, you'll never escape me." Lisa shot up from the floor, her eyes darting around the apartment. Was he here, watching her right now? "You're crazy," she shouted, her voice echoing through the empty space. "You need help, Ken. You need." "I need you," he interrupted, his voice growing colder. "I've always needed you, Lisa. And deep down, you know you need me too." "I don't need you," she spat, pacing back and forth. "I don't want anything to do with you." Ken chuckled softly, sending chills down her spine. "You can lie to yourself, Lisa, but you can't lie to me. I see the way you look at me. You still feel something, don't you?" Lisa's breath hitched. For a split second, she hated herself, because he wasn't entirely wrong. Part of her did remember the good times. The way he used to hold her. The way he made her laugh. But those memories were distant now, overshadowed by his obsession. "Those days are gone," she said firmly. "You destroyed everything we had." Ken's tone shifted, becoming darker. "I never destroyed anything. I'm trying to fix us. But you keep running." Lisa's hands shook as she hung up the phone. She couldn't do this anymore. She needed help. She needed someone to stop him. But before she could take another step, her phone buzzed again. A message. Her heart sank as she opened it. It was a picture of her standing in front of her apartment, just moments ago. Below it, a message. "I told you. I'm always watching." Lisa's chest tightened as fear wrapped around her like a vice. He wasn't just obsessed. He was dangerous. Lisa paced back and forth in her apartment, her mind racing. She couldn't sit still. Her heart pounded with fear, but she couldn't let it paralyze her. She needed to think, to plan. Ken's obsession wasn't new. She should have seen the signs long ago, but love had blinded her to the truth. Her phone buzzed again. Another message. This time, it wasn't a picture. "Ken, do you remember our first kiss? The rooftop? The stars?" Lisa's breath caught in her throat. She did remember. The memory was etched into her mind. The way Ken had held her face so gently. The way he whispered promises of forever under the night sky. But that moment felt like a lifetime ago. That Ken was gone, replaced by someone she barely recognized. She couldn't ignore it any longer. Ken wasn't going to stop. He would follow her, haunt her, until he got what he wanted. Her fingers trembled as she typed back. "Lisa, what do you want from me, Ken?" The reply came instantly. "Ken, everything. You, us, what we had before." Lisa's stomach twisted. What we had before. But she couldn't let herself get pulled back into his web. She needed help. Someone who could stop him before things got worse. Without thinking, she dialed a number she hadn't called in years. "Hello," a familiar voice answered. Lisa closed her eyes, her voice shaking. "It's me. I need your help." There was a pause on the other end. "Lisa, what's going on?" "I don't have time to explain," she said quickly. "But it's Ken. He's back." Another silence, this one heavier. "Ken, are you serious? I thought you cut him off." "I did." Lisa's voice cracked. "But he's still here. And he's not going away." The voice on the other end sighed. "I'm on my way. Don't open the door for anyone until I get there." Lisa hung up, her heart pounding. For the first time in days, she felt a flicker of hope. Someone was coming to help. Someone who knew Ken's secrets better than anyone else. But even as she tried to calm herself, her phone buzzed again. Another message. Her hands shook as she opened it. Ken, you're calling for help? Don't forget, Lisa. I know everything about you. I know everyone you care about. Her blood ran cold. Ken, and if I can't have you, no one will. The knock on Lisa's door startled her. She jumped, her heart pounding in her chest. He wouldn't dare show up here. Would he? Lisa. Relief washed over her as she recognized the voice. She quickly unlocked the door and pulled it open. Standing there was Tasha, her childhood best friend. The one person who had warned her about Ken from the start. Tasha stepped inside, her sharp gaze scanning the room. Her black leather jacket glistened with raindrops, and her curly hair framed her face in tight, dark coils. You look like hell, Tasha said bluntly, closing the door behind her. What's going on? Lisa ran a hand through her hair, pacing the room. He's back, Tasha. And it's worse than before. Tasha frowned. Ken, I thought he was long gone after you left him. Lisa let out a bitter laugh. So did I. But he never stopped watching me. Tasha's eyes darkened. I told you he was dangerous. That man doesn't love. You were his possession. Lisa sank onto the couch, her hands shaking. I loved him, Tasha. I really did. And for a while, he made me feel like the center of his world. Tasha sat beside her. That's how it starts. But love isn't supposed to feel like a prison, Lisa. Lisa nodded slowly, tears filling her eyes. I knew something was wrong when he started controlling every part of my life. My clothes, my friends, even my job. But by the time I realized it, I felt trapped. Tasha reached for her hand. You're not trapped anymore. We're going to stop him. But Lisa shook her head. You don't understand. He knows things about me. About us. He's dangerous. Tasha leaned back, her eyes narrowing. Then we fight fire with fire. Lisa's phone buzzed again. Another message from Ken. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Ken, remember the day I saved you from yourself? Lisa's stomach twisted. Tasha frowned. What does that mean? Lisa pressed her lips together, her mind flashing back to that dark day. The day her life changed forever. 3 years ago, Lisa stood on the edge of a rooftop, staring down at the city below. Her heart was broken, her spirit shattered. She had lost everything, her job, her apartment, her friends. Life felt unbearable. She was ready to let it all go. But then out of nowhere Ken appeared. He grabbed her arm, pulling her back from the edge. Lisa, he shouted, his voice filled with panic. What are you doing? Tears streamed down her face as she looked at him. I have nothing left, Ken. Nothing. Ken cupped her face in his hands, his eyes burning with intensity. You have me. I'm all you need. And I'll never let you go. Present day. Lisa wiped a tear from her cheek as the memory faded. He saved me that day. But now he's destroying me. Tasha's jaw clenched. He didn't save you, Lisa. He trapped you. Lisa nodded, her voice barely a whisper. And now he's back to finish what he started. Lisa paced her apartment, her mind spinning. Ken wasn't just obsessed, he was relentless. And no matter how far she ran, he always found her. Tasha stood by the window, arms crossed. We need to call the police, Lisa. He's stalking you. Lisa shook her head. It won't stop him. You don't know Ken like I do. He doesn't just walk away. Tasha frowned. Then what's the plan? You can't keep living like this. Lisa sat on the couch, her hands trembling as she scrolled through Ken's messages. Her heart sank with every text, each one a chilling reminder that he was always watching. Ken, you think you can hide from me? Ken, I know every move you make. Ken, we belong together, Lisa. Forever. A knock on the door made them both jump. Lisa shot up. Who is it? Silence. Then a voice. It's me, Lisa. Her blood ran cold. Ken. Tasha grabbed her arm. Don't open it. But Lisa was frozen in place. Her mind flashed back to the last time she saw him in person, to the look in his eyes when she walked away. I'm warning you, Ken's voice called through the door. If you don't let me in, you'll regret it. Tasha stepped forward, her voice firm. Get out of here, Ken. Leave her alone. There was a long pause. Then Ken's voice dropped to a chilling whisper. She doesn't need you, Tasha. She needs me. Lisa backed away from the door, her heart pounding. We need to call the police, Tasha repeated, pulling out her phone. Before she could dial, another message popped up on Lisa's phone. She hesitated, then opened it. Her heart stopped. It was a picture of her and Tasha, from just moments ago, taken through the window. Lisa's hands shook as she showed Tasha the picture. He's watching us. Tasha's eyes widened. What the hell? Lisa's phone buzzed again. Ken, I told you. I'm always watching. Lisa sank onto the couch, her mind spinning. He's not going to stop. Tasha knelt in front of her, gripping her hands. Listen to me. You're stronger than this. We're going to stop him. Lisa nodded slowly. But deep down, fear gnawed at her. Because she knew the truth. Ken wasn't just watching. He was planning something. And Lisa was running out of time. Tasha paced the room, phone in hand. The cops are on their way. Just sit tight. But Lisa wasn't listening. Her mind was elsewhere, trapped in the past, replaying moments she'd tried so hard to forget. Ken hadn't always been like this. Or maybe he had. Maybe she'd just been too blind to see it. Tasha, Lisa said quietly. I need to know how far this goes. Tasha frowned. What do you mean? Lisa held up her phone. Ken didn't just find me by accident. He knows things. He's always known things. And I need to find out why. Before Tasha could respond, Lisa opened her laptop and started typing. She searched for Kenneth Daniels, pulling up news articles, records. Anything that might explain how her once loving boyfriend had become a monster. Her hands trembled as she clicked on an old article. Local boy survives tragedy. Parents found dead in home. Lisa's heart sank as she read the headline. The article described how, as a child, Ken had been found alone in his family's home after both his parents died in a mysterious fire. The boy had survived unharmed, but the cause of the fire was never determined. Lisa, what is that? Tasha asked, peering over her shoulder. Lisa scrolled down, reading every word. Sources say the boy struggled with psychological trauma following the incident. He was placed in foster care but exhibited disturbing behavior, including an unhealthy attachment to caregivers. Lisa's stomach churned. Tasha was right. Ken had never been normal. His obsession wasn't new. It had been with him his whole life. Lisa, Tasha whispered. This guy's been broken for years. He never learned how to love in a healthy way. Lisa nodded, her mind spinning. And now, he thinks I'm the only one who can fix him. Just then, her phone buzzed again. Another message from Ken. Ken, you've always been my home, Lisa. Don't forget that. Lisa's heart pounded as she stared at the words. Home. That's what he called her. But now she understood why. I've been his replacement, Lisa whispered. His parents, his family. He's been trying to build something he lost. Tasha shook her head. That's not love. That's possession. Lisa's phone buzzed again. This time it was a video. Her hands trembled as she pressed play. The footage showed Ken standing outside her apartment, staring up at her window. Rain poured down around him, but he didn't move. He just stood there, silent, unmoving, and watching. The video ended with a chilling whisper. I'm coming home, Lisa. Lisa's blood ran cold. Tasha was right. Ken wasn't just obsessed. He was dangerous. And now he was closer than ever. Lisa couldn't breathe. The video replayed in her mind. Ken standing in the rain, staring at her apartment window. His whisper echoed like a ghost in her ears. I'm coming home, Lisa. Tasha grabbed her by the shoulders, forcing her to focus. Lisa, listen to me. You need to pack a bag. We're leaving. Now. Lisa shook her head slowly. There's no point. He'll find me. Tasha's grip tightened. Then we fight him. We won't let him control you anymore. Lisa stood up, her mind racing. She couldn't run forever. And deep down, she knew this wasn't just about her. Ken wouldn't stop until he had her. Until he had everything. I need to end this, Lisa whispered. Once and for all. Tasha frowned. What are you saying? Lisa met her gaze, determination hardening her features. I need to confront him. Tasha's eyes widened. Are you out of your mind? He's dangerous, Lisa. He's been stalking you for months. This isn't a conversation, it's a trap. But Lisa shook her head. I know Ken. If I don't face him, he'll never stop. He's already inside my head. I need to take back control. Tasha hesitated, then sighed. Fine, but I'm not letting you do this alone. Lisa gave a small smile. I wouldn't expect anything less. They waited. The hours crawled by as Lisa and Tasha sat in the dimly lit apartment, watching the rain fall outside. Every creak of the floorboards made Lisa flinch. Every shadow outside the window made her heart race. Then finally the knock came. Lisa froze. Tasha grabbed her arm. Stay behind me. But Lisa shook her head. No, I need to do this. She stood and walked to the door, her hand trembling as she reached for the lock. Her heart pounded in her chest, each beat louder than the last. Slowly, she opened the door. Ken stood there, his black coat soaked from the rain. His eyes, those same brown eyes she had once fallen in love with, were filled with something dark and twisted. "Lisa," he said softly. His voice was calm, almost gentle. "I've missed you." Lisa swallowed hard. "What do you want, Ken?" He tilted his head, a small smile playing on his lips. "I told you. I want you." Tasha stepped forward. "You need to leave, Ken. Now." Ken's gaze flicked to Tasha, his smile fading. "This doesn't concern you." "It does now," Tasha said firmly. "Lisa's done with you." Ken's eyes darkened. "No, she's not." He stepped closer, and Lisa took a step back. But he didn't stop. "You don't get it, do you?" Ken said, his voice rising. "I've given you everything, Lisa. My time, my love, my life. And you think you can just walk away?" Lisa shook her head. "This isn't love, Ken. This is madness." Ken's hands clenched into fists. "No, Lisa. This is forever."